A message that feels shorter than usual, a reply that takes a few minutes longer than expected, a period at the end of a sentence, a brief silence appearing in the middle of a conversation. Most people would barely notice. But you do. Your mind immediately starts asking questions. Did I say something wrong? Are they upset with me? Did something change that I haven't noticed yet? And even after the conversation ends, it keeps going inside your head. You replay every word, every expression, every small moment of silence. If this feels familiar, you may be more than just someone who overthinks. You may have a mind that has learned to read the world a little too carefully. Some people call it being overly sensitive. But sometimes it's a protective system that has been running for far too long. And the strange part is that the very ability exhausting you today may once have been a survival advantage. Hyper-awareness is not simply high emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence helps you understand emotions and respond to them with flexibility. But hyper-awareness is more like a radar that never shuts off. It scans the tone in people's voices. It scans how quickly they reply. It scans facial expressions, physical distance, emotional energy, even the things left unsaid. And then it turns inward and begins scanning you. Did I talk too much? Did I make them uncomfortable? Should I send another message? Are they pulling away from me? This is more than overthinking. It's what happens when your nervous system treats small social signals as if they could carry significant consequences. What exhausts you is not life itself. It's that your mind never truly steps away from life long enough to rest. Perhaps you've always been the kind of person who senses the atmosphere before anyone says a word. You can feel when the energy in a room shifts. You notice when someone's voice suddenly grows colder. You can detect the tension hidden beneath what seems like an ordinary smile. But the human brain doesn't learn this by accident. Long ago, survival depended on belonging to a tribe. Being excluded from the group could mean real danger. So the ability to read social cues became a survival skill. And for some people, that skill was refined even further in emotionally unpredictable environments. Places where you had to guess whether someone was happy, angry, or about to withdraw into silence. Places where another person's mood could determine whether your day felt safe or not. Maybe your brain isn't broken. Maybe it's simply trying to protect you, using a language it learned a very long time ago. Long ago, the human brain only needed to read signals from a small group, a few familiar faces, a few familiar voices, a close community where you understood the context behind people's actions. But today, you're expected to process hundreds of ambiguous signals every single day. Seen, like, view, reaction, story, typing, and then nothing. Someone sees your message but never replies. Someone replies, but their tone feels colder than it did yesterday. Someone is still there, yet somehow feels a little more distant. And your brain tries to weave all of those scattered pieces into a meaningful story. The problem is not that you're too sensitive. The problem is that the modern world generates more social signals than the human mind was ever designed to handle. The first trap is a lack of context. When you don't have enough information, the mind fills in the blanks on its own. A short message may simply mean the other person is busy, but in your mind, it becomes evidence that they're pulling away. A moment of silence may be nothing more than exhaustion. But your mind turns it into a sign that something is wrong. The second trap is social comparison. You stop simply noticing other people and begin measuring your own worth through their reactions. Who gets a faster reply? Who receives more attention? Who seems easier to love? And then the third trap appears, image management. You're no longer just communicating. You're editing yourself in real time. Was that too much to say? Does my silence seem cold? Am I needing them too much? At some point, self-protection begins to replace presence. You're no longer fully inside the moment. You're busy trying to make sure the version of you that exists in someone else's mind remains safe. You're sitting with friends. Your body is there, You still laugh. You still respond. You still nod at the right moments. But somewhere inside, a part of you isn't truly participating. It's standing just outside the experience, watching. Do they think I'm weird? Did I say the wrong thing? Did the energy just shift? Why did they look at each other like that? You're beside someone you love, but instead of feeling the closeness between you, you're scanning for signs that they still love you the way they used to. You post a photo, but you don't fully return to the moment it captured. You wait for reactions to tell you whether that moment was valuable, and this is the most painful part. You're not only trying to understand other people, you're trying to manage the risk of being rejected, misunderstood, left behind, or becoming too much for someone else. Slowly, life stops being a place you step into. It becomes something you have to manage. You manage your tone of voice. You manage your expressions. You manage how much you need other people. You even manage how you might exist in their memory. You're no longer participating in life. You're watching yourself live it. And perhaps the saddest part is that almost no one sees how exhausting that really is. If you can sense more than most people, that does not mean you have to carry more than most people. This is a boundary that many hyper-aware people were never taught. Understanding someone does not mean you have to carry their burden. Seeing pain does not mean it is yours to heal. Sensing a change does not mean it is yours to fix. And noticing that someone has grown distant does not mean you did something wrong. Not every signal requires a response. Not every silence is a verdict. Not every emotion you pick up belongs to you. The next time your inner radar switches on, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this a real piece of information, or is it a gap my mind is trying to fill? A single question like that can be enough to bring you back to the present. Not everything you feel is your responsibility to carry. You are not weak. You are not broken. And you are not too sensitive in the way others may have led you to believe. Perhaps you've simply been carrying a gift without ever being taught how to use it. Your ability to feel deeply was never the problem. The problem is that you've carried it alone for too long, without boundaries, without rest, and without anyone telling you that it's okay to set it down. But understanding this doesn't mean your inner radar will switch off tomorrow. Real change begins with a simple realization. I can feel this without allowing it to control my entire day. If you're learning to let go of what was never yours to carry, leave a comment below. I am learning to let go. And if this video helped you understand yourself with a little more clarity and compassion, subscribe to the channel and join me as we continue exploring the hidden corners of psychology that many of us feel but struggle to put into words. Be gentle with yourself. I'll see you in the next video.